Under a relentless downpour in the heart of the countryside, the film opens with a chilling scene. Young Chino, drenched and terrified, desperately crawls through the mud, pursued by a menacing figure cloaked in a poncho. Gasping for breath, Chino pleads for mercy, insisting he has no knowledge of the man's missing daughter. But his cries fall on deaf ears. The unforgiving man mercilessly knocks Chino out with a gun, then drags his limp body to a crude, shallow grave, sealing his fate as he buries him alive. As the story unfolds, we meet Martin, a fresh-faced police officer entering the bustling police station for his very first day on the job. Nervous but determined, he's handed the critical responsibility of transferring several prisoners that very night. He's introduced to Montesinos, a seasoned cop who will be accompanying him on this daunting task. Together, Martin and Montesinos venture to the city's imposing high-security prison, where they're briefed on the mission: 6 hardened criminals must be relocated. Among these prisoners, the cunning Ramus has covertly stashed a special lockpick in his cell, intending to smuggle it along for the journey. With the prisoners assembled, Martin and Montesinos conduct a thorough strip search, ensuring nothing is concealed. Montesinos' temper flares as he confronts a particularly insolent prisoner, the cocky young Nano. Tension fills the air as Montesinos unleashes his aggression on the defiant inmate. Once the search is complete, the prisoners are herded into the transfer truck, each confined to a separate, claustrophobic cell. As a precautionary measure, all but Mihai and Ramus are unshackled. Montesinos, ever vigilant, remains particularly suspicious of Ramus, the calculating criminal with a reputation for cunning and deceit. Martin, a stickler for protocol, is taken aback by Montesinos' ruthless treatment of the prisoners. Unable to stay silent, he chastises Montesinos, sparking a heated debate on the moral implications of their actions. The two officers climb into the transfer vehicle, with Martin gripping the wheel and Montesinos keeping watch over the prisoners in the back. A tiny camera and walkie-talkies allow them to stay connected, while a police car, manned by 2 additional officers, escorts them through the shadowy landscape. The transfer truck weaves its way down a secluded forest road, the trees casting eerie shadows as they pass. Unbeknownst to the officers, a mysterious figure stealthily places a spike strip across the road, his intentions unclear. Inside the truck, Montesinos obliges a request from the shivering prisoners, cranking up the heat in hopes of stifling their complaints. As the journey continues, Ramus, one of the prisoners, pleads for a bathroom break. Montesinos, ever the vigilant guard, reluctantly allows it, momentarily unshackling him. Seizing the opportunity, Ramus retrieves his concealed lockpicking tools, hidden in a place only he knew. With his contraband in hand, Ramus returns to his cell, a sly smile creeping across his face. The further they venture into the forest, the more the fog thickens, enveloping the truck like a ghostly shroud. Martin struggles to see the police escort ahead, and the radio crackles with static, severing their communication. Tense and uneasy, Martin tries to radio the lead car, urging them to slow down, but his pleas are met with silence. Just as anxiety begins to grip him, the truck reaches the devious spike strip, and the situation takes a dramatic turn. The transfer truck grinds to a sudden halt, prompting the prisoners to whisper amongst themselves, speculating about the cause. Some suggest that Mihai, one of the inmates, has powerful allies orchestrating their rescue. Montesinos, eager to uncover the truth, steps outside to investigate, leaving the prisoners unattended. Ramus, seizing the opportunity, reveals the string and hook he'd hidden earlier. With deft precision, he frees himself from his cuffs and unlatches the cell door. Meanwhile, Martin grows increasingly worried about Montesinos' prolonged absence. Tense and cautious, he ventures out, gun at the ready. His heart skips a beat as he stumbles upon Montesinos' lifeless body. Suddenly, gunshots ring out from a hidden vantage point in the woods. Martin hastily grabs Montesinos' keys and dives for cover behind the overturned police car, discovering the 2 escort officers, also dead. Martin fires back, but his bullets miss the mark. Eventually, a well-aimed shot from the sniper pierces Martin's thigh, and he limps back to the transfer truck in agony. Desperate to call for backup, Martin tries to contact headquarters, but his attempts are futile. The sniper continues his relentless assault, shattering the truck's windows. With the truck refusing to start, a wounded Martin retreats to the back with the prisoners. Gritting his teeth, he reaches for the first aid kit and hastily patches up his injured leg. The anxious inmates demand answers from Martin, but he remains tight-lipped. Suddenly, the ominous whir of a drill pierces the air. The sniper is attempting to breach the vehicle's armored exterior but fails due to its reinforced construction. Focused on the CCTV feed, Martin notices the sniper breaking into the driver's seat, his intentions unclear. With Martin preoccupied, Ramis seizes the chance to strike. He bursts out of his cell and lunges at Martin, initiating a brutal brawl. Martin eventually gains the upper hand, brandishing his gun and interrogating Ramis about the sniper's connection to him. Ramis vehemently denies any involvement. Amidst the chaos, another inmate, Pardo, discovers his seat is soaked with gasoline. He tries to alert Martin, but it's too late, flames erupt in his cell. The relentless sniper is now pouring gasoline into the vents of another prisoner's cell. Martin, acting fast, grabs the fire extinguisher and implores Ramis to help him unlock Pardo's burning cell. But the flames have already claimed Pardo's life. While Martin grapples with the tragedy, Ramis continues his covert mission, liberating the other inmates, including Ray, who narrowly escapes his own fiery demise. One by one, the prisoners are set free, their predicament growing more precarious by the minute. Outnumbered and vulnerable, Martin brandishes his gun at the freed inmates, threatening to open fire. But before the situation spirals out of control, the sniper's voice crackles through Martin's comms. The sniper assures them that Martin is out of bullets and that he holds the only key to the truck. If they manage to open the door, the sniper promises them their freedom. Mihai, the gangster, is lured by the tempting offer and advances towards Martin. The cop pleads with him to reconsider, insisting that the sniper cannot be trusted. But the inmates are fixated on the prospect of escape, and they turn on Martin. In the ensuing chaos, the key falls to the floor. Dodging their relentless attacks, Martin dashes to the other side of the truck, with the inmates barking demands for the key. Amidst the turmoil, Mihai retrieves the key from the floor and heads for the exit. But in a shocking turn of events, Nano, the youngest inmate, grabs the fire extinguisher and brutally beats Mihai to death. The sudden violence stuns everyone. As they gather around, Nano reveals his connection to the sniper. The man's name is Miguel, a disgraced and corrupt ex-cop. Nano insists they will be safe as long as they stay inside the truck. However, Miguel's voice interrupts through the comms, accusing Nano of lying. He claims he's only after Nano and promises to spare the others if they hand him over. If they refuse, he vows to kill them all. The sniper's voice brags about killing Nano's best friend, Chino, from the movie's opening scene. Unwilling to be dragged into Nano's troubles, the inmates turn on him, grappling for the key so they can hand him over. In a desperate move, Nano swallows the key, and an infuriated inmate knocks him unconscious. Outside, Miguel is seen changing the transfer truck's wheels and severing various cables. Inside the truck, Nano and Martin regain consciousness, only to find themselves locked in a cell by the other inmates. The sniper has cut the heat and the rest of the power, plunging the interior into darkness and cold. Miguel climbs into the driver's seat and begins to drive away. Ramis, now in possession of the comms, communicates with the sniper, informing him of Nano's swallowed key. He suggests they kill and gut Nano, but the sniper refuses, insisting on Nano's survival. He demands they find a way out of the truck so he can reach Nano. As the temperature plummets and with no escape in sight, Nano and Martin have no choice but to talk. Nano confides in Martin, sharing the story of his and Chino's upbringing. Chino was like a brother to him, and the thought of his best friend in harm's way fills Nano with despair. In the meantime, Ramis and the other inmates discover the hull and extract a toolbox. Simultaneously, Montesino miraculously awakens, wounded by a gunshot to his waist but still alive. He contacts the police station to report the dire situation and stumbles upon the sniper's car nearby. Inside the car, he finds a gun in the glove box, a series of photos of a teenage girl, and a news article detailing the disappearance and murder of a young girl. As it turns out, the girl was the sniper's daughter. Back in the transfer truck, the inmates send Ray into the hull to search for an escape route. Navigating the cramped space, Ray locates a few screws at the end of the tunnel and starts to unscrew them. Suddenly, Montesino arrives with the sniper's car and opens fire on the transfer vehicle. Miguel, the sniper, retaliates by ramming the truck against the car, tossing the passengers about. To evade the relentless ramming, Montesino attempts to pull ahead, but the truck continues to batter the car until Montesino crashes into a tree. Miguel brings the vehicle to a halt, and the impact causes Ray's head to collide with a protruding bolt. The sniper exits the truck and coldly watches Montesino bleed out, sealing his fate. As Miguel resumes driving, Ramis contacts him through the comms once more, explaining that they've exhausted every option but can't find a way out. In response, Miguel warns that with the sun rising, it's Nano's last chance to confess. Nano maintains his innocence, and Miguel ends the call, disregarding Martin's queries. Subsequently, Miguel steers the truck to the center of a frozen lake. He steps out and fires several shots into the ice surrounding the truck before retreating to watch from a distance. The ice cracks, and the truck begins to sink. Water floods the interior, sending the trapped occupants into a frenzy. In this desperate moment, Martin discloses the existence of a hidden escape hatch on the truck's roof. Ramis attempts to pick the lock to release Martin and Nano, but in his haste, the lock falls. Another inmate, Gollum, bravely dives into the frigid water to retrieve it. Miraculously, they manage to unlock the cell, but Gollum appears weak and pale. They get ready to swim out, but Gollum's condition worsens, he succumbs to hypothermia, and they're forced to leave him behind. With only moments to spare, Nano, Ramis, and Martin propel themselves toward the surface, their muscles straining against the icy grip of the water. Martin, the dedicated police officer, falls agonizingly short of breaking through to the life-giving air above. Just as his lungs cry out for oxygen, Ramis, the resourceful inmate, hauls him from the clutches of the frozen abyss and into the shivering air. On the shore, Nano races for his life, his heart pounding like a war drum. He remains unaware of the looming shadow of Miguel, who lurks just beyond the periphery, his eyes locked on his quarry. As Ramis works tirelessly to revive Martin, he administers life-saving CPR, and finally, the officer gasps, returning from the edge of darkness. As Martin gathers his strength, the distant echo of gunshots slices through the chilly air, causing a wave of concern to wash over him for Nano's safety. The young man, breathless and desperate, stumbles into a cluster of decaying buildings, their crumbling walls offering little sanctuary. Torn between duty and gratitude, Martin grapples with his desire to apprehend Nano. He exchanges a meaningful glance with Ramis, whose actions saved his life mere moments ago. In a show of deep appreciation, Martin makes the difficult decision to grant Ramis his freedom, a silent acknowledgement of the bond forged in the face of adversity. With a nod and a wish for good fortune, the two men part ways, each embarking on their own uncertain path. The scene unfolds as the policeman tracks down the source of the gunshot, leading him to an abandoned building where Miguel is perched atop, taking aim at Nano but fortunately not hitting him yet. Martin carefully makes his way up the stairs to confront him before it's too late. Standing face to face, Martin demands to know what Miguel wants from all this. Miguel, the sniper, begins to reveal a heart-wrenching story about his 13-year-old daughter, Soledad. She had gone to a village festival one day and met Nano and Chino. The two men got her drunk and repeatedly subjected her to unthinkable acts of cruelty. As if that wasn't enough, they then proceeded to put out their cigarettes on her and finally tied her to the back of a truck, dragging her to her death. After his daughter's tragic death, Miguel's only desire is to locate her remains so that he can give her a proper burial. However, the police have never been able to find her body, leaving Miguel in a state of inconsolable grief. Martin, on the other hand, tries to reassure Miguel that the law will hold Nano accountable for his actions, but Miguel is skeptical. Being a former cop himself, Miguel is well aware that the legal system is flawed and often fails to deliver justice. When Nano attempts to flee from the scene, Miguel takes matters into his own hands and shoots him in the leg. Martin, outraged by Miguel's actions, attacks him with all his might. In a desperate attempt to defend himself, Martin finds a sharp piece of glass lying on the floor and stabs Miguel's hand. With Miguel injured and disarmed, Martin seizes the opportunity to grab the gun and point it at his adversary. However, Miguel quickly recovers and slips away from Martin's grasp, descending the stairs to pursue Nano. With the shotgun reloaded, Martin sets out to pursue his quarry. As he approaches the scene, he is greeted by a shocking sight. Miguel is relentlessly pounding Nano, demanding to know the location of his daughter's body. Despite the savage beating, Nano stubbornly refuses to divulge any information. In a desperate bid to end the violence, Martin fires the shotgun into the air, causing Nano to momentarily freeze in fear. Taking advantage of the situation, Nano lashes out, striking Miguel in the head. The altercation is abruptly interrupted by the arrival of a police helicopter, forcing the three men to pause their deadly struggle. Nano, feeling invincible, arrogantly taunts Miguel, declaring that he will never reveal the location of his daughter's body. His lewd grin serves as the final straw for Martin, who is overcome with a sudden fury. He takes aim and fires, striking Nano in the foot and pinning him down. Martin demands that Nano confess to the whereabouts of the missing girl, but he remains defiant. Frustrated and enraged, Martin decides to take matters into his own hands, firing once again and obliterating Nano's hand. Amidst the chaos and carnage, a long-awaited revelation is finally made. Nano confesses to disposing of the girl's body in a well in their hometown. The weight of the confession hits Miguel hard, and he breaks down in tears, his body racked with sobs of both relief and grief. As the police squad finally arrives on the scene, Martin is forced to face the consequences of his actions. Although he may have tarnished his reputation as a cop and brought dishonor upon himself, he is content in the knowledge that he has helped a father cope with the unjust death of his daughter. The feeling of having served justice is a reward in and of itself, one that is far more valuable than any commendation or accolade. The movie ends on a somber note, with Martin leaving the police force behind. However, he carries with him a sense of purpose and a newfound appreciation for the importance of serving justice and helping those in need. Though the road ahead may be uncertain, Martin knows that he has made a difference in the life of one grieving family, and that is a legacy worth fighting for. The moral lesson learned from this movie is in the face of adversity, unexpected bonds can be forged between people. It is crucial to remember that even those who may seem wicked can possess redeeming qualities, and that vengeance is not the path to true justice.